Hello, this is Sonia Rosenglick. The purpose of this video is to show Lake Tech faculty how to develop their deliberate practice. And your deliberate practice is part of your comprehensive professional assessment system, which we call COMPASS. Let's look at the big picture first. Classroom faculty member performance is evaluated upon 4 criteria, and these are the criteria. Non-classroom have most of the same criteria. The deliberate practice is an element inside of the performance assessment, which is 50% of your professional assessment if you're classroom. And the only exception is in your first year, it's 72%. The whole performance assessment is, and that's when your administrator comes in and evaluates you and assesses your work. I do want to say the reason that it's so high your first year is because, as you can see, we don't have any placement data on you. You don't have any completion, placement, or licensure data from last year because you didn't have students last year, and you wouldn't want to inherit anybody else's numbers. You want to be able to create your own. So that's why there's such a difference in this criteria. I'd also like to note that the deliberate practice element is part of the formal evaluation and not the informal. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the deliberate practice element within your COMPASS. It is very short. You simply have to develop a professional development goal, probably have to submit it on time, and then the teacher actually completes the deliberate practice satisfactorily. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reach every single goal that you've made on your deliberate practice, but you have to prove results and that you have actually followed through with it. Please remember that your deliberate practice is something that you choose to deliberately focus on in order to improve upon as a professional educator. What should you do your deliberate practice on? Well, that's a good question. You may use one of the COMPASS elements, perhaps one in which you need to improve upon according to your last review. Or you can use one of your CPLs, your completion rate. You can want to improve your placement rate or your licensure rate, your retention rate as well. Once you choose what you like to deliberately improve upon via your deliberate practice, then you will want to make an appointment with your administrator and discuss it. The deliberate practice form that I'm about to show you may be filled out before the meeting, but it must be approved by your administrator before you pursue it. So you may want to wait until after that date. And this year, the due date of submitting your deliberate practice plan is November 8th. Let's now look at the form that you need to fill out for your deliberate practice. You can find it on Lake Tech's intranet under Forms and then COMPASS. Let's go now. So I'm going to choose LTC intranet. And once I get on the intranet, I'm going to scroll down to Forms, and then it's right here under COMPASS. And if you haven't looked through this yet, you should, because this is how you're going to be evaluated. This is your informal summary, the 20-minute summary evaluation, and this is your formal summary. And just, I would go through all of these, but here's your deliberate practice form, and you open it up, and you'll see it's a fillable form. I have a great big tip for you. Do not start filling this form out until you have saved it, downloaded it onto your computer, and then start filling it out and resave it and submit it. Just remember that I gave you that tip. Please remember to do that. So on the top of the form, obviously, your name, your EIN number, the date that you're submitting this, and your assignment, your role, your job here at Lake Tech. And now let's talk about your measurable goal. You can have one or two that are related. Just note, I have three separate ones here just because I wanted you to see examples. And then we're going to concentrate on this last one. But these are examples of measurable goals. They must be related to your program, to your students, to your department. Okay. State your growth goal. When you're going to have this done, state specifically what is going to change and what the result will be. Make sure you state how it will affect your students or your program positively. For example, by March 20th, I will raise my retention rate by 10% and expect to see these results evident in a decreased rate of students leaving my program after the first 5 weeks. And then you can continue with the rest. Okay, here is another one, just as an example. For my spring enrollment in January, I will increase my enrollment by 100% and expect to see the results by increasing my class size from 10 to 20 students. So obviously, this person only has 10 students and has been told, hey, we need to increase your enrollment. So this is going to be your growth goal for the rest of the year. And then you continue and tell them how you're going to do it. So for the remainder of this video, we're going to concentrate on this as your measurable goal. By the end of March, I will raise my score on element 3, establishing classroom rules, which is classroom management, and expect to see these results evident in student behavior, progress, and increased grade average. Okay, so on with the next section of the form, your action steps that you need to take to reach your goal. Make sure that you describe specific actions that you take or perform differently, what you're going to do differently within your classroom to improve the use of this strategy. And then we're going to talk about the resources and materials needed to accomplish these action steps. Okay, so action steps needed to reach the goal and increasing your score on the classroom rules, the establishing classroom rules. I will clearly post rules in my class, remind students of the class rule that they are breaking when they're doing the breaking of the rule, organize student in groups to create or modify classroom rules so that they can take ownership of the classroom rules. Create visual cues that students recognize as warnings. Visit a program area whose seasoned instructor exemplifies good classroom management. Bring in an employer to speak about the importance of workplace rules and how they relate to success. So that's a good one because they can hear it from somebody else, not just you. Conference with every student once per quarter to discuss his or her work habits and outline how they can perform or improve their work habits score. So those are a good list of action steps you need to take in order to meet your goal. Okay, so here are the resources needed for the implementation of the goal. What do you need to do to be able to do all these things? So relook at this, and this is what you need. You need lesson plans for group activity involving students in the modifying classroom rules. So that would be just a great lesson plan for them to take ownership of classroom procedures. Create infographics and posters for classroom procedures and post them on the walls or place them around the room. Coverage to observe another program's classroom management. Employer's contact information to schedule as a speaker, and you will need to create a form for the quarterly conference that you're going to have with each student. So there's your plan and your needs. And it's going to ask for a time frame, and since it's due November 8th, you need to have this done probably around March 30th or April sometime. That's typically when these things become due. Now, you need to show the relationship of your measurable goal to your program, your students, or your department, and how it's actually going to make a difference. Okay, so you're going to have to explain why you're doing this. What's the end result? Why I'm choosing this because it's going to make a difference. How? Well, when students are more engaged and focus on their work, the entire class is able to more easily focus on their grades and graduate on time. And when students graduate on time and they get good grades, they increase the program's completion rate and timeliness of completion, which is important, which in turn means more successes for the school in employment, finances, and marketability of the program area. Okay, so when you bring this in with your administrator, you will sign and date it. Your administrator will sign and date it. And then when you meet with your administrator at the end of the year for various other items, the administrator is going to review the results, or you are going to talk about your results actually, and then you will sign again, and then that will be your deliberate practice. Please ask me or your administrator if you have any questions on your deliberate practice. Good luck with it.